Okay, what we have here is we're going to demonstrate that on the test bench. Uh, we'll do a testing just as is done in production with this bench here. We have the pump that came back on the RMA. It is pump serial number 4194241. Has a tag of 140 psi, which is the maximum, the lowest bypass that was able to be achieved in your system. We have it hooked up here now with zero inlet pressure. This is how we test all of our pumps. When we talk about maximum bypasses, it's always at zero inlet pressure, just simply because that makes it a good common denominator. We don't know what the pressure on the inlet is going to be at different installations. But at zero inlet pressure, right now we are operating open flow, so there's zero discharge pressure. We're going to deadhead the pump and see where the bypass is. Okay, so the bypass right now is about 120 psi. So okay, we're going to take our 1/16 inch Allen screw and we're going to turn it now, adjust it a little bit counterclockwise in this case. Okay, so we are achieving 110 psi max bypass. That's as simple as it should be. Again, zero inlet pressure. So, okay, so we were able to adjust the bypass to 110. What we'll do next is we want to know where the pressure switch setting is at the moment. So we're going to do a little bit of a reconnection here with about a 12-inch piece of 1/4-inch tubing. We're going to interconnect the pump to the switch now so that we can see where this pump is at the moment at its external pressure switch setting. And we do have 230 volt AC applied to the motor. Alright, now we've got the pump interconnected with the switch. We're operating at open flow right now, zero outlet pressure. We continue with, zero inlet pressure as well. And this is how we do in production, how we set, or how the switches can be set either in production or at on-site. Really, the setting of the switch needs to be done with every single machine because there's slight variations, and as everybody knows, we need to make sure that the switch is where you need it. I believe 80 psi is the target. So by closing the valve, we're going to see where the switch shuts off power to the pump. Okay, right now it's about 65 psi actually. Okay, no, here we go. So we've got 80 psi. The system right here is configured to have some backflow so that you can see or simulate how. Okay, so the switch is shutting off at 80 psi and it's turning the pump back on around 60. Simulating what would happen in your system as somebody dispenses water. The pump comes on. When they stop dispensing water, the pump will run until the pressure reaches 80 psi, and then the switch will shut it off. So the switch is functioning as it should. If you were not getting 80 psi shut off on your switch, all you have to do is in the hole where the set screw is, you put the same 1/16 Allen wrench, and you can turn counterclockwise to decrease it or clockwise to increase it. So let's say we just turned it counterclockwise. Now our shut-off pressure is down to about 70 psi. And it's coming on about 50. If we wanted to increase the setting, we turn clockwise. Okay, and this is just a trial and error essentially. There's no, quarter of a turn increases by so much, etc. But we just turned it clockwise and we reset it to 80 psi. Shutting off at 80, turning on about 60 psi. Okay, so now we know that the pump and the switch are working normally. We're going to try something here to demonstrate what might happen as the inlet pressure to the pump increases from 0 to some pressure. I guess we could choose a random setting of 30 psi. We're gonna, with this booster system now, what we can do here is we can increase the inlet pressure to, why don't you set it at, I don't know, 30. We'll set it to 30 psi.
25.
Or 25 psi. And at 25 psi, what we want to do now is we're going to disconnect the switch.
Thank you.
And let's see where the bypass setting is. Let's see where the bypass setting is here.
Could I ask you next, please, for the gas
Thanks, Stefan.
check? Remember, I gave you the receipt. Okay.
Okay. So what we're going to do now, we're back to the pump connected, no pressure switch. Let's see, we've got it at 20.
More. You can put
About 30. Okay, so what we're going to do here is just to pick a random number, we're going to put 30 psi of inlet pressure on the pump, coming into the pump. We're going to deadhead the pump now. We all saw how we set this pump at 110 max bypass with 0 inlet pressure. At 30 inlet pressure, let's see where the max bypass climbs. Okay, so it's about just about 120 psi. Okay, 120 psi. What this demonstrates is that as you increase the inlet pressure to the pump, your max bypass, which you set at 0 psi inlet at 110, could climb, and that's probably why you're getting 140 psi here. Your inlet pressure at that point could be somewhere in the, I'm going to guess, 50, 60 psi inlet point. So, okay, so now with the same increased inlet pressure, what we want to know is how is that going to affect the pressure switch setting, and we will run that demonstration next. So running the pump, which is once again at 0 psi, the max bypass was set to 110. We set our switch to 80, or it was set at 80. Now we're going to run the same pump with 30 psi inlet pressure, which we've just randomly picked. We saw that the bypass of the pump, maximum bypass, did increase to about 120, 125. Let's run the pump now with the switch, and what we're looking for here is that the switch continues to shut off at 80 psi. Okay, so we're closing the valve, reaching a higher pressure, and when it hits 80, it should shut off. Okay, so it shut off at 80 and it turns on at about 60, 59. Okay, so you can see that you can see that even though the pump has higher inlet pressure and thus has a higher